Ethan Drake stared at the colossal structure of the Xylarian diplomatic palace, his breath catching despite the recycled air of the space station's shuttle bay. The palace floated above the planet Xylaris like a crystal hovering in the violet clouds, reflecting sunlight in impossible angles. Humans had been warned about the Xylarian Empire, proud, ancient, and fiercely protective of their customs. But Ethan, a mid-level engineer, had never faced a crowd this formal before. His role was simple, or so he thought: assist in maintaining the station's infrastructure and observe the alien technology up close. He had not expected to be dragged into the social spectacle of a 1,000-year-old royal family's reception. As the shuttle doors hissed open, a wave of Xylarian nobles dressed in flowing robes of shifting colors and embedded gems entered the bay to greet him. Their skin shimmered faintly like moonlight on water, and their eyes, tall and vertical in shape, glimmered with intelligence that made his own human eyes feel small and narrow. The chief ambassador, a tall figure named Thalvin, stepped forward, bowing in a way that made Ethan's spine stiffen. "Welcome, human," Thalvin said, in a voice that was melodic yet firm. "You are honored to enter our palace, and your presence will be noted by Princess Lyra herself." Ethan swallowed. Honored, he reminded himself. This was diplomacy, not a battlefield. Still, his nerves tingled. He straightened his jacket, adjusted the strap of his tool satchel, and followed Thalvin through the palace gates. The hall inside was unlike anything Ethan had seen. Walls of crystalline metal stretched high above him, bending light into colors his human eyes struggled to name. Gravity shifted subtly, keeping the enormous space floating comfortably. Floating platforms drifted silently, carrying nobles from one side of the hall to another. In the center, a hovering sculpture of intertwined beams and rings emitted soft musical tones, almost like it was alive. Ethan had no idea what any of it meant, and he felt distinctly human, awkward, clumsy, and out of place. As the crowd of Xylarian nobles turned to watch the human, Ethan noticed their silent gazes, evaluating, assessing, measuring. He could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes on him, and his palms itched with nervousness. He took a step forward and nearly tripped over the edge of the floating ceremonial artifact that hovered only a few centimeters above the polished floor. His foot caught the edge, and before he could steady himself, the artifact wobbled dangerously and toppled toward the ground. Gasps echoed through the hall. Metallic chimes screeched as the floating rings of the sculpture responded to the disturbance. Ethan froze, heart pounding. The nobility whispered in their melodic language, voices rising and falling in alarm. Then a figure moved forward, a tall, elegant form with robes that shimmered like liquid starlight. Her hair cascaded in silver waves and her eyes glowed faintly with violet light. Princess Lyra. Ethan barely had time to register her presence before she stepped directly in front of him. One hand lifted as if to still the murmuring crowd. "He's mine," she declared, her voice ringing clear through the hall. The words cut through the tension, shocking every noble present. Ethan's jaw dropped. He had not expected that. He had not expected any reaction, much less a claim of ownership or alliance in front of the royal court. The murmurs escalated into a low hum of disbelief. Even Thalvin, usually composed, took a small step back, frowning. Lyra's gaze locked onto him, unwavering. There was no hesitation, no doubt. Ethan felt heat rise to his cheeks. He opened his mouth to say something, anything, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he did the only thing he could think of. He bowed slightly, careful not to stumble over the tool satchel still slung over his shoulder. Thank you," he managed, his voice small. The princess blinked once, lightly, before gesturing with one hand for him to follow. The crowd parted reluctantly as Ethan trailed behind Lyra. She moved with fluid grace, every step perfectly measured despite the slightly reduced gravity of the palace. As they walked, Ethan stole glances at her family and the surrounding nobles. Their expressions ranged from shock to outright disbelief, some even suspicion. Humans were considered fragile, untrained in diplomacy, and certainly unsuited to the traditions of Xylarian culture. And yet here he was, being publicly claimed by the princess herself. "Do you understand the seriousness of what you have done?" a voice asked from nearby. Thalvin's tone was sharp, warning. Ethan blinked. I didn't do anything," he stammered. Lyra's smile was faint but confident. "You have arrived," she said simply. "And that is enough." The next hour was a blur. Ethan followed Lyra through corridors that seemed to change shape as they walked, walls expanding and contracting, light shifting in ways that made him dizzy. He noticed small mechanical devices floating in the air, hovering to adjust the environment around them. Some emitted soft humming, others glimmered faintly with power. Ethan's mind, trained in human engineering, took note of every detail: the materials, the energy flows, the balancing fields. Even here, in the midst of royal drama, he found patterns and puzzles to solve. Lyra occasionally glanced at him, her violet eyes studying him as if reading his thoughts. Ethan felt both uncomfortable and strangely exhilarated. Humans were adaptable, and he had been trained to observe, to analyze, to find solutions. Yet in this alien palace, his usual logic seemed both useful and inadequate. When they entered a large chamber, the gravity returned to normal. Floating tables were set with foods that shimmered and glowed, scents foreign yet strangely inviting. Lyra gestured for him to sit beside her. Other nobles kept their distance, whispering among themselves. "Ethan Drake," Lyra said softly, leaning close. "You have no idea what you have stirred." "I think I might," he replied, his voice steadier than he expected. "But I also don't have a clue." She laughed lightly, a sound like wind through crystal towers. "Good, that may save you." The meal that followed was a mixture of observation, testing, and subtle challenges. Each dish, each ritual seemed designed to gauge his reactions, his intelligence, and his composure. Ethan approached them all carefully, using a combination of logic, intuition, and a willingness to try unfamiliar things. The nobles watched silently, some skeptical, others clearly impressed by the humans' resourcefulness. By the time the evening ended, Ethan realized that he had survived the reception without causing a major incident. He had, in fact, navigated some of the palace's challenges with an instinct and creativity that few humans, or aliens, might have managed. Lyra's declaration, which had shocked everyone, now seemed less like a spontaneous act and more like a calculated statement of trust and challenge. As they returned to the guest quarters, Lyra glanced at him again. "Tomorrow," she said, "you will see what it truly means to be claimed. For now, rest. You will need your strength." Ethan nodded, exhaustion creeping in. His body was tired, but his mind buzzed with possibilities. Humans were considered fragile, unpredictable, and outmatched in this galaxy. And yet, in the span of a single afternoon, he had already begun to prove otherwise, not with weapons or strength, but with observation, adaptation, and the simple courage to survive. He lay down on the unfamiliar bed, the violet light of Xylaris filtering through the crystalline walls. The princess's words echoed in his mind. "He's mine." Ethan did not yet understand the full weight of the claim, nor the storms it would bring. But for the first time in his life, he felt a strange pride, not arrogance, but the quiet certainty that humans, in all their simplicity, could hold their own even among gods. And somewhere deep in the palace, Princess Lyra smiled, knowing she had chosen wisely. The Aetheris glided smoothly above the alien planet, the twin suns casting soft reflections across its metallic surface. Eli Varen and Lyra Solis stood side by side on the observation deck, the hum of the ship beneath them a constant reminder of the vast universe surrounding their small vessel. The events of the past days, the forest exploration, the storm, and the encounter with the sentient bioluminescent creatures had left them both awed and contemplative. Eli stared out at the shimmering landscape below. The forest looked different from above, the glowing flora forming intricate patterns that seemed almost intentional. He couldn't help but remember how the creatures had moved, their light flowing in harmony with their surroundings, and with them, the memory brought a faint smile to his face. Lyra's voice broke the quiet. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said softly, her gaze following his. Eli nodded, glancing at her. "It is, and it's more than that. I've never seen anything like it. Not just the forest, but the creatures, the way the ecosystem reacts. It's like the planet itself is alive, aware and intelligent." Lyra's eyes reflected the soft glow of the observation deck. "And it responded to us, Commander. Not just because we were there, but because we interacted with it honestly, openly. Your presence, your reactions, they influenced everything around us." Eli felt a warmth in his chest. He had always known humans were unique, but hearing it from Lyra, someone as brilliant and analytical as she, made the truth resonate differently. I just tried to be careful, to pay attention. I didn't expect that anything I did would matter so much. Lyra's smile was gentle, understanding. That's the point, Eli. Humans often underestimate themselves. It's not just your actions, it's your awareness, your courage, and your ability to connect that make a difference. That is what allows humans to thrive, even in unfamiliar or challenging worlds. Eli's mind wandered back to the forest, to the storm, and to the moments when he had relied on instinct and trust to guide them safely. Each memory reinforced what Lyra was saying. Humans had something special, a combination of emotion, intelligence, and presence that could influence even the most alien environments. He turned to her, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. You really think humans are remarkable? He asked almost quietly. Lyra looked at him steadily. I do. And not just humans in general, individual humans who notice, who care, who act with honesty and courage. You are one of those, Eli. His cheeks warmed at her words. He had expected analysis, scientific observations, even subtle praise. But this felt personal. Not just acknowledgement of skill or intellect, but recognition of who he was as a person. The embarrassment mingled with pride, creating a feeling he couldn't quite name. They stood together for a few moments, the silence comfortable, the universe stretching endlessly beyond the viewport. Then Lyra spoke again, her tone softening. It's rare to find someone whose presence feels impactful without force, without dominance. Yet you, Commander, manage it effortlessly. Eli swallowed, unsure how to respond. The compliment made him feel both flustered and genuinely seen. I thank you, he managed to say. That means more than I expected. Lyra nodded, her gaze steady. And it's worth noting that this impact isn't limited to interactions with life forms. Your perception, your choices, and your instincts influence outcomes in ways even you might not realize. That is a uniquely human trait. Eli felt a faint blush rise to his cheeks, remembering the earlier moments when he had accidentally spoken his thoughts about her beauty. He realized now that it was more than a slip. It was part of a larger truth. Humans' ability to express, perceive, and connect shaped the universe around them, in ways subtle yet profound. Lyra, he began, hesitating, trying to find words that would express the mixture of gratitude, admiration, and something deeper that he felt. I think I understand now. Humans, our presence, our emotions, our choices, they really do matter. And I think you've shown me that more clearly than anyone else ever could. Lyra's eyes softened, and she reached out slightly, placing a hand on the railing beside his. And I've learned something as well, Eli. Even someone like me who studies life and energy patterns scientifically can be reminded of the importance of connection, trust, and awareness by simply observing and being present with someone who embodies those traits. The warmth in Eli's chest deepened. He had faced countless challenges in space, unknown planets, strange phenomena, unpredictable environments. But this moment, quiet and reflective, felt as significant as any triumph. It wasn't the stars or the creatures or the storms that defined human strength. It was the combination of courage, insight, and emotional presence. He looked at Lyra, her expression calm but thoughtful, and realized that the blush creeping across his face wasn't just from embarrassment. It was from a profound sense of understanding, of connection, and of admiration. You've changed the way I see things, he said softly. Not just the planet or the creatures, but myself and humanity. Lyra's gaze met his, and for the first time, the faint teasing of earlier days was replaced with sincerity. And you've reminded me, she said, that human qualities, honesty, courage, empathy, and awareness are extraordinary. Watching you navigate the forest, the storm, and even the creatures has been enlightening. Eli felt a quiet joy, a sense of harmony that seemed to echo the energy of the alien planet below. For the first time, he understood that their bond was not just professional. It was a shared acknowledgement of human potential, a recognition of what made them capable of influencing, understanding, and thriving in even the most unfamiliar environments. The ship's systems began their routine checks, signaling the end of the observation period and the start of their preparations for the next mission. Eli and Lyra moved together, cataloging the data from their field experiences. They discussed patterns, energy fluctuations, and the behavior of the creatures, but there was a subtle undertone to their conversation, an unspoken awareness of the bond that had formed between them. As the night fell over the alien planet, The twin sun's last rays reflected off the crystalline trees, casting intricate patterns of light across the landscape. Eli paused at the viewport, feeling the calm after the storm, both literal and metaphorical. He turned to Lyra, who was reviewing the final readings on her tablet. "You know," he said quietly, "I never imagined that observing plants and creatures could feel this meaningful, not just scientifically but personally." Lyra looked up, a soft smile touching her lips. "Sometimes the most profound discoveries aren't the ones in databases or reports. They are the moments when presence, awareness, and human qualities intersect with the universe in ways that matter. You've experienced that, Eli." He felt the warmth of her gaze and knew that the blush on his face wasn't just from embarrassment. It was from the acknowledgement of something deeper. I think I understand what you mean now. It's not just about exploration or science. It's about connection, about noticing, being honest, and trusting instincts." Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Exactly. And in doing so, you've reminded me why humans are remarkable. Your presence, courage, and honesty create ripples that extend far beyond immediate observations. That is something truly worth appreciating." Eli smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride and fulfillment. The universe was vast, mysterious, and often unpredictable, but he had witnessed firsthand how human qualities could shine, influencing even alien life and unknown ecosystems. He realized that being human wasn't just a biological fact. It was a profound strength that shaped experiences, relationships, and understanding. For a long moment, they stood together looking out over the planet below. The bioluminescent forest shimmered faintly even from orbit, a reminder of the living, breathing complexity they had encountered. Eli's thoughts drifted to the creatures, to the storm, and to the countless small moments where observation, courage, and empathy had guided them safely. Lyra's voice was soft but steady. "Eli, it's rare to witness moments that highlight the best of humanity. You've shown me that bravery, honesty, and presence can make a difference, even in ways that are subtle, unseen, or unexpected." Eli felt the warmth in his chest deepen. "And I've realized that human qualities aren't just remarkable, they're powerful. They shape outcomes, create connections, and reveal truths that can't be measured by instruments alone." Lyra's smile widened slightly, a rare expression that conveyed both affection and admiration. "Exactly. And that is why moments like these and humans like you are so extraordinary." Eli felt a blush rise, a mixture of pride, embarrassment, and genuine happiness. He realized that the journey, the discoveries, and even the accidental confession from before had led to this moment of clarity, a recognition of humanity's true strength, both in exploration and in connection. As the Aetheris continued its orbit, the stars stretching endlessly around them, Eli and Lyra shared a quiet, unspoken understanding. It wasn't just about science or discovery. It was about being human, about noticing, trusting, and connecting in ways that made a real difference. And for the first time in the vast emptiness of space, Eli felt truly seen, understood, and part of something larger, not just in the universe, but in the shared recognition of human potential and presence. He turned to Lyra, a small, genuine smile on his face. "Thank you," he said softly. The day dawned with a calm serenity after the storm. Zithra's lavender oceans shimmered under the gentle light of twin suns, casting reflections that danced across the station's observation modules. Ethan stretched, feeling a new sense of purpose. The storm had been a trial, and he had passed it, not just surviving, but learning to move in harmony with Leora and her world. He entered the main module to find Leora floating near the center, her skin glowing soft gold and lavender, a combination indicating calmness and alert focus. She turned toward him, her violet eyes reflecting warmth. "Good morning, Ethan," she said softly, her voice carrying the familiar melodic lilt. "You rested well?" "I did," Ethan replied, smiling. "And you?" I'm ready," she said. "The day brings opportunity. You are prepared as well." Today, however, was different. It was the day that Leora's full mating rituals would reach a peak, a day when every gesture, every hum, every shift in color would reach its most intense expression. Ethan felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. But unlike earlier, he felt grounded, aware of his own ability to adapt, observe, and contribute without disrupting the natural flow. As the station's grav plates hummed softly, Leora began her ritual with precise and deliberate movements. Ethan watched closely, noting the subtleties he had learned over the past several days. The rhythm of her body, the flickering colors of her skin, and the harmonic trills she produced were mesmerizing. This time, however, another presence appeared. Leorin, the male Elara from the other research vessel, returned, but not alone. A small group of Elara observers floated in formation behind him, watching the ritual with curiosity. Leora's skin flickered soft blue, signaling mild tension. "You observe," she said to Ethan, her voice calm. "Remain steady, do not interfere." Ethan nodded, feeling the familiar surge of responsibility. This was not simply observation, it was guardianship, respect, and patience. The ritual began in earnest. Leora's body moved in complex patterns, her skin shifting through every hue of the spectrum. Ethan had learned to interpret these colors: gold for focus, violet for alertness, turquoise for calm, amber for curiosity, and crimson for heightened instinct. He followed each shift carefully, ready to respond if needed. Though he understood that his role was mostly to observe and support, the observers murmured softly, clearly impressed by Leora's precision and the intensity of her performance. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Not only was he witnessing something extraordinary, but he also understood enough to appreciate the beauty and meaning behind it. Then something unexpected happened. During a particularly intense sequence, Leora's energy flared brighter than before, sending a wave of light and warmth through the module. Ethan instinctively moved closer, his presence grounding her without her needing to ask. "You are steady," Leora whispered, her melodic voice carrying a note of wonder. "Most humans would flee or disrupt. You do not. That is remarkable." Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. He realized that his time with Leora had transformed him, not just in understanding her species, but in gaining confidence in his own ability to connect, adapt, and support. The ritual reached its climax. Leora and Leorin performed a synchronized series of movements, their bodies and energies intertwining in a dance of trust and mutual respect. Ethan watched, utterly captivated, noting how Leora's trust in him allowed her to express fully, even in the presence of others. When the ritual ended, the observers floated quietly, impressed but respectful. Leorin turned to Leora, his eyes soft with admiration. "You have exceeded expectation," he said. "You recognize only part," Leora replied, her skin softening to calming turquoise. "The human observes without judgment. That is strength beyond our understanding." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had not expected recognition from another species, yet Leora's words reminded him that his efforts were valued. After the observers departed, Leora led Ethan back to the module. The twin sons of Zithara bathed the room in soft light, creating an almost ethereal glow around her. "You have endured much," she said softly. "Your presence has been constant. You have learned patience, observation, and trust. These are strengths humans possess, and you have demonstrated them fully." Ethan smiled, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. "I couldn't have done it alone," he said. "Your guidance helped me understand everything. I've learned so much, not just about you, but about myself." Leora's skin shimmered with gentle lavender and gold, a sign of approval and warmth. "We have learned together. Connection grows from understanding, respect, and patience. You are more than observer. You are part of this experience." They spent the afternoon in calm reflection. Ethan shared more about his thoughts, his impressions of Zithara, and his growing respect for Leora's species. Leora shared insights into her own experiences, including the challenges of maintaining balance during mating season and the importance of trust in relationships, both within her species and across others. As evening approached, Ethan felt a quiet confidence. He realized that living with Leora had been a journey of adaptation, empathy, and growth. He had faced moments of confusion, anxiety, and awe, but he had also discovered the ability to connect deeply with a being unlike himself, understanding instincts, emotions, and communication beyond words. Leora floated near the observation window, gazing at Zithara's oceans as the twin suns set. "You have adapted well," she said softly. "Humans, they often fear what they do not understand. You embraced it. That is remarkable." Ethan joined her, feeling the calm energy of her presence. "I realize something," he said quietly. "It's not just about observing you or your rituals. It's about learning to be part of your world while being myself." She turned toward him, her violet eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "Yes, understanding requires presence, empathy, and trust. You have all three. That is rare among humans." The final moments of the day were quiet but full of meaning. Ethan and Leora shared a mutual recognition of their journey. The challenges of mating season, the intensity of rituals, the unexpected encounters, and the lessons learned. Both had grown, not just in understanding each other, but in the capacity to coexist, respect, and connect across differences. As night fell, Ethan settled into his sleeping alcove, reflecting on the extraordinary days he had spent with Leora. The storm had tested them. The rituals had challenged him. The unexpected encounters had surprised him. But through it all, he had adapted, learned, and connected. Leora floated near the observation window, her skin glowing soft turquoise, signaling calm and contentment. She turned toward Ethan one last time for the night. "You have endured, and you have grown. That is the gift of understanding. You are part of this, in a way few humans could ever be." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of peace. "And you have taught me more than I could have imagined. I'm grateful." Her glow softened further, fading into the gentle hues of night. "Gratitude is mutual. You have presence and patience. That is strength in any species." As he drifted into sleep, Ethan realized that their journey was far from over. The mating season would continue. Zithra would bring new challenges, and Leora's world would always be full of surprises. But he had found his place, not just as a human observer, but as a trusted companion, a learner, and a participant in a life far different from his own. And deep down, he knew that the bond they had formed, born of curiosity, patience, and trust, would endure, shaping not only his understanding of alien life, but also his understanding of himself. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new discoveries, and perhaps new moments of awe and wonder. But tonight the station was calm. Zithra's oceans reflected the stars, and Ethan slept with a sense of accomplishment, connection, and the extraordinary knowledge that even across worlds and species, understanding could be built and friendships formed through patience, respect, and care. The days after the trial were quiet, but the tension in the palace never fully vanished. Queen Arathia's acknowledgement of Elias's abilities had softened her stance slightly. Yet the rules and traditions of Zithra still weighed heavily on Lyra. Every step she took alongside the human commander carried both wonder and risk. To outsiders, their relationship might seem simple, but in reality, it was a delicate balance between courage, love, and duty. Elias spent his mornings walking through the floating city with Lyra, learning about her people and sharing human knowledge. They explored the libraries of crystal, where knowledge flowed like water and could be touched to reveal ancient wisdom. Elias was fascinated by the records of Zythera's history, how the people had evolved in harmony with their floating cities, how they had mastered the currents of wind and energy, and how their civilization had survived for millennia. Yet he also shared stories of Earth, its struggles, triumphs, and innovations. He explained how humans, despite being young and fragile in the galaxy, had achieved remarkable feats through determination, collaboration, and adaptability. Lyra listened intently, her curiosity insatiable. "Your people are extraordinary," she said. "You survive, you create, you rise even when the odds are against you. Humans are unlike any species I have studied." Elias smiled. "And Zytherans are remarkable as well. Your cities, your understanding of energy and balance, your culture, it's inspiring. But perhaps the greatest strength of humanity is our courage to act, even when we are uncertain. That courage allows us to connect, to build alliances, and to change the world." Lyra reached for his hand, a simple gesture that carried weight beyond words. "I think that courage is what drew me to you, Elias. You face the unknown without fear. You challenge norms not recklessly but with purpose. I admire that." Their bond deepened with each passing day, but the Queen's presence loomed over them like a silent storm. Arathia had begun to observe more closely, sending her advisors to monitor Elias's actions. Though she had acknowledged his abilities, she remained cautious. One mistake, one misstep, could undo all progress and bring dishonor to her family and people. One afternoon, as Elias and Lyra strolled through the gardens, a sudden disturbance shook the city. A series of floating platforms began to wobble, and a surge of energy swept through the air currents. Citizens screamed and scrambled to stabilize their positions. Elias instinctively took charge, guiding those nearby to safety. His human instincts, quick thinking, calm under pressure, and the ability to assess and adapt made a difference. He calculated angles, redirected energy flows, and used his knowledge of physics to stabilize the affected platforms. Lyra watched in awe. "Your actions, they saved lives," she whispered. "Even when danger appears, you remain calm. Humans truly are extraordinary." The Queen arrived soon after, having observed the crisis unfold from above. She descended to the gardens, her presence commanding immediate silence. She approached Elias, her expression unreadable. "You intervene in matters that are not yours to control, yet the outcome is positive. Your courage and intelligence are undeniable, human." "Perhaps I misjudged your kind," Elias bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I act not to challenge your authority, but to help. My actions are guided by concern, respect, and the desire to protect life." The Queen's gaze softened slightly, though her eyes still reflected the weight of centuries of tradition. "You are unlike any human I have encountered. Your kind has potential, but you must understand that your actions carry consequences beyond what you can imagine." Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. "Mother, Elias acts with honor. His intentions are pure and he respects us. I trust him completely." The Queen studied her daughter, then looked at Elias. "Trust is fragile. It must be earned and maintained through actions, not words. You have proven yourself human, but the path ahead will be challenging. Understand that your choices affect not only yourselves, but the future of Zithra and your people as well." Elias nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will continue to act with honor and respect." In the following days, Elias and Lyra spent more time together, exploring the city, exchanging knowledge, and preparing for the challenges ahead. Their conversations ranged from science and technology to philosophy and art. They discussed how humans could contribute to Zithra's society, sharing innovations that could improve energy distribution, transportation, and communication. Lyra was fascinated by human ingenuity, realizing that despite their biological fragility, humans possessed qualities that even Zithrans could learn from: creativity, adaptability, and courage in the face of uncertainty. As their bond grew stronger, so did the scrutiny from the palace. Advisors and courtiers whispered about the humans' influence on the princess. Some viewed it with fear, believing that human emotion could destabilize centuries of Zithran tradition. Others saw promise, recognizing that Elias's presence could inspire new ways of thinking and innovation. One evening, Lyra invited Elias to a private chamber overlooking the city. The sky was painted with the colors of sunset, casting a warm glow over the floating platforms and the distant horizon. "Elias," she said softly, "I want to be honest with you. My mother watches us closely. Every moment we spend together is observed. But I cannot ignore what I feel. I trust you and I care for you. More than I expected, more than I can explain." Elias took her hands in his own, feeling the warmth and strength behind her words. "Lyra, I feel the same. Your courage, your curiosity, your heart, it inspires me. Humans have faced countless challenges, and we survive because we act with purpose and determination. What we feel is not weakness. It is our strength. And together we can face anything." Lyra's eyes glistened with emotion. "Then we must be brave, Elias. Brave not only for ourselves, but for the future. I do not want to hide what we share, but I know the path ahead is filled with obstacles." Elias smiled gently. "Humans are known for facing impossible odds, Lyra. We do not back down easily. Together we can navigate the challenges and perhaps even change the minds of those who doubt us." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden commotion outside. Guards rushed past the chamber, their expressions tense. Lyra and Elias followed, finding the source of the disturbance. A group of Zithran citizens had gathered, demanding changes to the city's regulations. They feared the influence of outsiders and questioned the growing presence of humans in the palace. The Queen arrived swiftly, her presence immediately calming the crowd. She raised her voice, firm and commanding. "Citizens of Zithra understand this. The human is not an enemy. He has proven his courage, intelligence, and respect for our ways. He acts with honor and seeks only to understand and contribute. Judge him by his actions, not by fear of the unknown. Elias stepped forward respectfully. I come in peace, and I respect your traditions. I am not here to impose, only to learn and share what humanity has to offer. Together we can face challenges and create a better future for both our worlds. The crowd hesitated, some skeptical, others intrigued. Humans had a reputation for resilience and courage, and Elias's words carried conviction. Slowly the tension eased and the citizens began to disperse, their curiosity replaced by cautious hope. Lyra looked at Elias, admiration in her eyes. You handled that beautifully. Your courage and calm inspire trust, even among those who fear the unknown. Elias shook his head modestly. It is not just me. Humans survive because we learn, adapt, and act with purpose. I am guided by the values of my people and the trust you place in me. That night, as they walked through the glowing gardens, Lyra reflected on the events of the day. Elias, my mother still watches, but she is beginning to see what I see. Humans are different, yes, but perhaps in ways that can strengthen our society rather than threaten it. Elias nodded. We have much to learn from each other. Your people are wise and advanced, and together we can find ways to combine our strengths. Humans have a gift for adapting, for connecting, and for turning challenges into opportunities. That is what makes us extraordinary. Lyra smiled, a mixture of relief and determination in her eyes. Then we will continue, Elias. We will face the challenges ahead with courage, honesty, and understanding. I believe in us and I believe in humanity. As the stars shimmered above the floating city, Elias and Lyra stood together, united by trust and admiration. The bond between human and princess had grown stronger, tested by trials and strengthened by shared understanding. The queen's presence, though still formidable, was no longer a barrier but a silent witness to the extraordinary qualities of humanity. Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. Humans had survived and thrived in the galaxy not because of strength alone, but because of courage, empathy, and ingenuity. These qualities had earned him a place in the heart of Zithera, and they would guide him and Lyra through the challenges ahead. Lyra's hand found his once more. No matter what comes, she whispered, we face it together. Elias squeezed her hand gently. Together we can accomplish anything. Humanity has always risen to meet the impossible, and now we rise not alone, but alongside those who are willing to see the strength and courage and understanding. The night deepened, and the city of Zithera shimmered like a sea of stars suspended in the clouds. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when different worlds met not with fear but... The days that followed the Queen's decision were filled with quiet excitement and purpose. Captain Alex Mercer moved through the palace of Zalara with a sense of accomplishment, but he knew that his mission was not yet complete. The true work had only just begun. The assistants, now recognized as autonomous contributors rather than merely bound servants, were eager to explore new ways to share their skills. The city itself seemed to hum with renewed energy, as if Zalara itself had sensed the promise of change. Alex met with Leora, Rin, and Celis in the central chamber, which was now alive with a sense of optimism. We've been given a chance to work freely, Leora said, her luminous eyes bright with determination. We can pursue projects that matter to us and contribute to both Zalara and humanity. Rin nodded. Our skills can be used in ways we could only imagine before. And now, Captain Mercer, we want to collaborate with you fully, not as assistants, but as equals. Celis smiled. We have ideas for technology, energy management, and cultural exchange. The possibilities are endless. Alex felt a deep satisfaction. This was the outcome he had hoped for. Not dominance or control, but trust, collaboration, and empowerment. I am honored, he said, and I am eager to learn from you as well. Humanity and Zalara can achieve far more together than either could alone. Queen Lithera joined them, her expression one of pride and contemplation. Captain Mercer, she said, your presence has changed my perspective and perhaps even the course of our planet. I am grateful for your guidance, your patience, and your wisdom. You have shown us that strength is measured not in power over others, but in respect, collaboration, and the courage to embrace change. Alex bowed slightly. It was not my guidance alone, Your Majesty. It was a joint effort. Your willingness to listen and to reconsider tradition made all the difference. True progress requires leaders and citizens alike to be open to new ways of thinking. The Queen's gaze softened. Indeed, And now I wish to formalize a new alliance between our worlds, not as ruler and visitor, but as partners. I propose a council, with representatives from both humanity and Zalara, working together to share knowledge, culture, and technology. The assistants, now recognized as citizens with full rights, will be key members of this council. Alex's heart swelled with pride. That is an excellent proposal, Your Majesty. It will ensure that our collaboration is built on equality, respect, and shared vision. Over the next weeks, the humans and Zalarans worked side by side to establish the council and outline plans for joint projects. They exchanged knowledge of technology, science, and culture. Humans introduced new problem-solving methods and experimental thinking, while Zalarans shared insights into energy manipulation, sustainable architecture, and ethical governance. Each session brought new discoveries, new ideas, and a deeper understanding of the strengths each species brought to the partnership. Alex marveled at the speed with which trust and respect grew. The assistants, once bound by tradition, now contributed freely and creatively. Leora developed systems to enhance energy efficiency in both human and Zalaran cities. Rin designed strategic simulations that improved disaster response and resource management. Celis created devices and instruments that bridged the gap between human engineering and Zalaran energy systems. Their achievements were remarkable, but Alex realized that the greatest accomplishment was the recognition of autonomy and collaboration. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Zalara, Alex and the Queen walked through the gardens. The glowing plants and crystal fountains shimmered in the moonlight, casting reflections that danced across their path. "Captain Mercer," the Queen said, her voice thoughtful, "I never imagined that a single visitor could inspire such change. You have shown us the value of ethical courage, respect for autonomy, and the power of collaboration. I see now that leadership is not about control, but about creating opportunities for others to shine." Alex nodded. "It is often humanity's greatest strength. We value curiosity, ingenuity, and ethical action. When we combine these traits with the talent of others, we can achieve extraordinary outcomes." Lithera smiled softly. "And now we are partners. Our worlds can learn from each other, grow together, and face challenges with shared wisdom." The following months were filled with progress and celebration. Human and Zalaran engineers developed new energy systems that stabilized entire cities. Scientists exchanged knowledge that accelerated technological development. Artists and cultural ambassadors from both worlds collaborated to create works that honored the beauty and uniqueness of each civilization. The palace was no longer just a place of authority. It became a hub of innovation, creativity, and shared purpose. Alex often spent time with the assistants outside of formal projects. He listened to their hopes, dreams, and ideas for the future. Leora spoke of exploring uncharted regions of Zalara to study unknown energy patterns. Rin wanted to develop educational programs that combined strategy, ethics, and science for young Zalarans and humans alike. Celis dreamed of creating instruments that could unify art, science, and energy manipulation in ways that neither species had seen before. Through these interactions, Alex realized that the bond they were forging went beyond diplomacy. It was a friendship, a partnership, and a shared commitment to building a better future. He felt proud of what humanity had accomplished, not through domination but through integrity, intelligence, and moral courage. One day, the Queen summoned Alex to a meeting with the council representatives from both worlds. The chamber was filled with energy and anticipation. "Captain Mercer," Lithera said, "today we formalize the alliance that you helped inspire. This council will guide our shared projects, ensure mutual respect, and promote growth and understanding for both our peoples. Your vision has shaped this outcome, and we are grateful." Alex spoke to the council with humility and clarity. "We stand here not as masters or subjects, but as partners. Humanity has always sought knowledge, innovation, and ethical progress. With Zalara, we can achieve far more together. Let us work side by side, respecting each other, learning from each other, and building a future that honors the talents and choices of all." The council members, both human and Zalaran, applauded, their voices echoing through the chamber. It was a moment of triumph, not for conquest but for collaboration, respect, and shared vision. Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that the efforts of the past weeks and months had created something enduring and meaningful. As the days passed, the alliance flourished. Trade routes between Zalara and human colonies opened, allowing the exchange of knowledge, culture, and technology. Joint research initiatives advanced science in both civilizations. Educational programs taught future generations about cooperation, ethics, and innovation. And the assistants, once bound by tradition, became leaders, inventors, and teachers in their own right, guiding others and continuing the legacy of choice and respect that Alex had inspired. One evening, standing once again on the balcony of the palace, Alex gazed at the twin moons reflecting over the city. The lights below shimmered like stars brought to the surface, evidence of a civilization transformed not by power, but by wisdom, morality, and ingenuity. He thought of the journey that had brought him here, from a visitor observing a new world to a partner in shaping its future. Queen Lithera joined him silently, her expression one of contentment and pride. "Captain Mercer," she said softly, "you have shown us what humanity can teach us, not by force, but by example. You have proven that courage, intelligence, and ethics can inspire change greater than any decree or law." "For that we are grateful," Alex smiled. "It was a collaboration, Your Majesty. We achieved this together. And it is only the beginning. There is so much more to explore, learn, and create. Together our worlds can accomplish extraordinary things." Lithera nodded. "Indeed, and the future is bright because of the choices we make today. You have reminded us that the greatest gift a leader can give is not what they can take, but the freedom and opportunity to grow." As they stood together, watching the city glow beneath the moons, Alex felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Humanity's strength had been proven, not through conquest but through integrity, ingenuity, and moral courage. The alliance between Earth and Zalara was strong, built on trust, respect, and collaboration. And the assistants, once bound by tradition, now walked freely, empowered to shape their own destinies and contribute to a future brighter than anyone could have imagined. For Alex Mercer, this journey was more than a mission. It was a testament to the potential of humanity. It was proof that when intelligence, courage, and morality come together, even the most complex challenges can be met. It was evidence that the true measure of strength lies not in domination, but in the ability to inspire, empower, and uplift others. And as the twin moons of Zalara shone high in the sky, Alex knew that the story of their collaboration would be told for generations, a story of humans and Zalarans working side by side, creating a future filled with knowledge, respect, and endless possibility. The journey was complete, yet the adventure had only begun.